question today that I have for you is how can the DC studios shed the DCEU baggage before the DCU starts? And what I mean by that is it seems like all of that Snyderverse, fandom, maybe let's call the Snyderverse fandom, like all the hashtags and everything, that's still very prominent out there. And it doesn't help that with James Gunn, like he responds to a lot of these like questions, and whether he's shooting down rumors or confirming things, he's been caught like saying things in the past where, like he mentioned that he met with Ben Affleck and he would love to work with us in the future sometime. Of course, we are open to working with him. And then like Ben Affleck got interviewed about another project, and they asked him about, well, would you want to do this thing with DC? Like James Gunn said this, and that, and he was like, I don't think I'm going to be a good fit for what they're going for. And so then people were like, well, one of those people like said, like clearly those two statements don't add up. So we're kind of like in this like gray area right now where the DCU hasn't really started yet and the DCEU is still wrapping up. But do you think the DC studios can really shake that baggage and start fresh, or are we just going to drag some of that along for the first few years of the new DCU continuity?
Well, he's already announced that like 3 of the characters are moving forward, right? He's going to continue on with Peacemaker, he's going to continue on with Blue Beetle, and he's going to continue on with, there was one more character.
Amanda Waller.
Yeah, Viola Davis's character. So all 3 of those actors are moving forward. He's already announced casting for the new Superman Legacy. That's a new fresh slate. Isn't that supposed to sort of mark the beginning of the new?
It is. Yeah, I think Creature Commando is coming out next year, which is an animated show. It's meant to be like an aperitif or an appetizer. And then Superman Legacy, the live action movie, is going to kick it off and, proper like the new DCU continuity. And he has said that that's kind of the beginning of the new canon. And everything up until that point is not going to count. So there is a bit that it kind of creates this hard line in the sand.
Yeah.
But like from a audience perception standpoint, even like these recent DC movies that have been like really struggling at the box office, I feel like that might still have a bit of a knock-on effect that when Superman Legacy comes out, it may struggle because people are still maybe not entirely sure about DC movies. Even though like the Batman made a ton of money, like over $700 million, and Joker made $1 billion, and we were getting another Joker and a Batman movie. People know that those are completely disconnected from those extended universe movies. But now that we're getting a new connected universe, I mean, do you think James Gunn has enough time between now and then to really get the fans on board? Not to I mean, there's going to be always that like vocal minority that's just going to keep, wanting to wave that flag of let's get Zack Snyder back on the saddle and let's get him back in the DC world, which I don't even know if Zack Snyder is interested right now.
I just feel like at this point, they need to let it go. Let it go. Everybody just needs to let it go. Let it go. Because I am seeing all these crazy articles about people pulling apart threads and stuff like that about Zack Snyder coming back. I'm like, people, like he's moved on. Let him live his life. Let him live his life.
Yeah, he went through such a traumatic experience losing a child through that whole process. And then not being able to work on this movie, and then of course he got closure, I think, so that's a good thing. And Warner Brothers has done like that whole fan event earlier this year where they did a screening and a Q&A with him for all of his movies that he did, like whether it was the Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and his version of the Justice League movie. So he's gotten closure on a couple of occasions. I think if I were him, I would be like, he's happy to have the creative control and flexibility to do what he's doing at Netflix. That I don't know if he would even want. I mean, he said that he'd be open to doing this, that coming back and working on his version of the stories for DC. But I just don't know if there's any future of him coming back and doing it in movie form, at least not in the near future. And then if not in the near future, then, a lot of the actors are probably going to have moved on, if not already have moved on to, other things that they're
and the other issue with that delay is like the timing. Like age is real. You can only play a superhero as long as you can play the age that superhero remains.
Yeah. Although, like, hey, Hugh Jackman is coming back as Wolverine.
Superman doesn't. Look.
20 years on.
Well, Hugh Jackman's character is Wolverine ages, right?
That's true.
He's not supposed to be this immovable sort of character, whereas Superman is, and Wonder Woman, she is also immortal. So, like, those two...
Well, I don't think Superman is meant to be immortal, but, like, I see your point. Yeah,
like, you can't You can't.
I mean, I think what you're saying is both true and not true because like we live in a world where Michael Keaton just returned to play Batman, and he's
But
like,
as Batman, Batman ages. He's a real human.
okay, fair. You're right.
I
You're
was
right.
like, yeah.
Yes. Okay. But there's also been like not rumors but speculation rather, because James Gunn did mention pretty early on when he signed on, especially when he was like, "Hey, we met with Henry Cavill, and we loved his work, and we told him face to face like, hey, we're going to be moving in a different direction with Superman," and then Henry Cavill said as much on his social media, and at the time he also mentioned, James Gunn did, that he's open to collaborating with Henry Cavill in the future on other projects and maybe having him come back in the DC fold and maybe play a different character, maybe another hero, another villain. And so people have been speculating, like, do you think Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, and depending on what happens with Gal Gadot, because that's still a bit in flux whether she's going to continue in the role of Wonder Woman or not, do you think those actors who were previously, or even like Jesse Eisenberg who played Lex Luthor, would they be back in the new DCU at some point? Maybe James Gunn has them cast in a different role?
I would hope not. Honestly, that sort of recasting of roles like that and having to see his face but not see him play the role that we've always seen him play, it personally, I can never seem to get past it. It almost reminds me of when in like a third movie of a 3-movie franchise, they've recast one of the main leads. Like, I just can't see past it. Like, I literally the whole way am just paying attention to that. So for my own viewership enjoyment, I hope not. I'm like, I don't want to have to be thinking about, why is he playing this character? I preferred him as Superman. Like, no.
It's certainly going to draw comparisons. That's true. I mean, and they may be able to do that with some actors that weren't maybe playing the super high profile roles.
But
like
the high profile roles, there's just no way.
Yeah.
No
that,
way.
like, it's probably gonna draw more controversy and criticism than it's gonna draw like praise, unless of course we may get Ben Affleck or Henry Cavill coming back in a character and that they completely knock out of the park and people are like, oh wow, that was really good, but the chances of that happening usually are pretty slim. So while I don't see that it being an impossibility, and certainly it's not just a matter of it whether James Gunn wants to do it, it's also a matter of if these actors want to come back and play those roles, because it's always a two-way street when it comes to casting. So yeah, I think it's a possibility, and certainly something James Gunn might be interested in doing. Like you said, those main players, especially like the Trinity, the Trinity being Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, those actors, they probably won't take part in the new franchise unless maybe they do like one of those crossovers where they like bring in, like the DCEU was its own multiverse kind of a section and they're doing a big crossover. But
that's too many.
I can see that maybe down the road, but even that might be like years away. Like you might be talking decades down the road.
Obviously they sort of tease that in the Flash, but
yeah,
I really hope they don't jump on that train too, because then every single movie I'm watching has to be like so much more than
there's
just
a lot of multiverse
movie. And
going
I'm like,
on right now.
I could do without another multiverse. I just could.
Well, I don't think they're going to be doing that anytime soon. If they do it, they have to first establish this new universe and really like entrench us in that new story before they even think about harkening back to some other iteration. Like Marvel, like, they're 15 odd years into their universe and now they're doing those crossovers with like the older X-Men characters and like the Fantastic Four, like some of the older iterations of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think they might do it, but that might be like a decade or so away. And then at that point, who knows? Maybe like the multiverse trend is long dead and gone, so people are not so concerned about it.
Sure.
Guys, let us know in the comments below what you think about the idea that there's a lot of DCEU baggage that's still hanging around the new DC studios. Is that something that they will be able to get rid of before they kick off the new DCU in 2024 and 2025 with Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy? Let us know in the comments what you think. And of course, like and subscribe for more content like this. We're talking about DC news and updates here each and every day of the week. So we'll be back here for more in the coming days, weeks, and hopefully years to come.